In Nottinghamshire, UK, the transition from screen time to real-life interactions proved to be challenging, with miscommunications and missed signals becoming commonplace. Colston Bassett, a small village located southeast of Nottingham, was home to Claire Ablewhite. At 47 years old, Claire was a mother of three. Having gone through a divorce, she left her previous life on a farm and settled in the close-knit community of Colston Bassett. There, Claire embraced a quieter, more rural lifestyle, taking up work at a local stables where she cared for horses. Known for her love of animals, she also ran a successful dog-walking business. Those who knew her described Claire as a popular, well-liked, and sociable figure within the village, someone who had seamlessly integrated into the community. On February 26, 2022, Claire Ablewhite failed to show up for work at the stables where she was employed. A friend arrived that morning, expecting to find Claire tending to the horses as usual, but she was nowhere to be found. Something seemed off, prompting concern. Claire's father, worried about his daughter, decided to visit her home to check on her. He called her phone, but there was no answer. Upon arriving at the house, Claire's father went upstairs, where he discovered her lying in a pool of blood. He immediately called for an ambulance, describing her as unresponsive, cold, and pale, but they instructed him to attempt CPR. This must have been an incredibly traumatic experience. When the paramedics arrived, it was clear that Claire had already succumbed to her injuries. She was pronounced dead at the scene, having suffered devastating wounds. Upon arriving at the crime scene, authorities were met with a harrowing scene. Blood was splattered across the room, indicating the savagery of the attack. Claire Ablewhite had suffered severe blunt force trauma to the head, along with extensive facial injuries from a violent assault. Deep slash wounds were evident on her neck, and multiple stab wounds had been inflicted on her chest. The condition of her body suggested that a significant amount of time had passed since the attack, as rigor mortis had already begun to set in. With clear evidence of a violent homicide, law enforcement immediately launched a murder investigation. The residence was secured as a crime scene, and forensic specialists were called in to meticulously examine the area for crucial evidence. Every detail was analyzed in an effort to piece together the events leading up to the attack and to identify the individual responsible for such a horrific crime. Claire Ablewhite's mobile phone was notably absent from the scene, eliminating a crucial piece of potential evidence that could have provided insight into her final communications or movements. Compounding the challenge, no murder weapon was recovered, and there were no immediate traces of DNA left behind. With a killer still at large, investigators faced significant obstacles in identifying a suspect without these key forensic leads. Forensic psychologist Professor Coral Dando highlighted the difficulty of such cases, emphasizing that while individuals inevitably leave behind some trace of their presence, those who take precautions to minimize evidence make the task exceedingly difficult for both law enforcement and forensic specialists. In an effort to uncover hidden evidence, investigators deployed ultraviolet powder across the crime scene. This specialized technique, used in combination with darkness, allowed forensic teams to detect latent fingerprints, bodily fluids, and other microscopic traces invisible to the naked eye. Every possible method was employed in the hope of uncovering new leads that could bring them closer to solving the case. Investigators discovered shoe prints in Claire Ablewhite's blood, confirming the killer's presence. However, with few surveillance cameras in the remote area, evidence remained scarce. A breakthrough came when a neighbor, away on holiday, realized their CCTV might have captured the crime. They immediately returned home and provided the footage to police, offering a crucial lead in the investigation. The surveillance footage provided a critical breakthrough in the investigation, capturing a figure lingering near Claire Ablewhite's residence. The individual's behavior appeared highly suspicious, as they were seen walking partially across a neighbor's driveway adjacent to the crime scene. Given the subsequent discovery of Ablewhite's murder, this activity raised serious concerns. The video offered investigators key visual evidence. Cybercrime specialist Professor Vasilios Karagianopoulos analyzed the footage, noting distinct details about the suspect's attire. The individual was wearing a jacket, carrying a rucksack, and had on Adidas sneakers featuring the brand's signature 3 stripes, matching the footprints found inside Ablewhite's home. In a further revelation, The footage also contained recorded audio, providing an additional layer of evidence for the investigation. The audio captured in the surveillance footage was deeply distressing and was never released to the public. In the recording, Claire Ablewhite could be heard engaging in a brief conversation with a neighbor while an unidentified male figure lingered nearby. After waiting for a short time, the man approached and knocked on Claire's door. As she let him inside, the sound of barking dogs could be heard in the background. Moments later, the recording captured the horrifying reality of the attack. Claire's screams as she was mercilessly murdered. With this evidence, the individual in the footage became the prime suspect, and investigators shifted their focus to identifying and tracking him. As police meticulously reviewed additional footage from the neighbor's CCTV, they uncovered a crucial clue, captured purely by chance. Given the rural and poorly lit surroundings, visibility was extremely limited. However, careful examination of the footage revealed a passing vehicle, offering a potential lead in tracing the suspect's movements to and from the crime scene. The CCTV footage captured a brief but crucial moment, an individual on a bicycle heading toward Claire Ablewhite's home. This short glimpse provided investigators with valuable information about the suspect's route, but did not yet reveal their identity. To track the cyclist's movements, police analyzed additional surveillance cameras along the cycle path leading to Colston Bassett, where Claire had been staying. Footage from the night of the murder showed a person riding a bicycle, carrying a light-colored backpack. This detail matched the earlier footage, strengthening the connection between the cyclist and the suspect seen near Claire's home. The remote location of the crime meant that few, if any, witnesses were present at the time of the attack. However, the image of the individual captured on a bicycle closely matched the suspect seen in the neighbor's CCTV footage, reinforcing the police's lead. Investigators expanded their search, analyzing additional surveillance cameras near Claire Ablewhite's home. After an extensive review, they uncovered multiple clips showing a cyclist with similar distinguishing features. These recordings provided crucial details about the suspect's appearance and clothing, allowing law enforcement to track their movements more effectively. Despite what seemed to be a significant breakthrough, the suspect's identity remained unknown, leaving investigators determined to piece together more evidence. With mounting pressure to solve Claire Ablewhite's murder, investigators made a significant breakthrough 10 days into the case. A member of the team successfully located Claire's missing phone at the bottom of a nearby river. Remarkably, they managed to restore functionality, granting access to crucial data. Messages retrieved from the device revealed that Claire had been involved in a relationship with a younger man. Through a dating website, she had been in contact with 26-year-old John Jessup, a local resident of Nottinghamshire. Their relationship was brief, consisting of casual meetups, such as coffee dates, with limited intimacy. Jessup appeared to be an ordinary individual, an avid tennis player with no prior criminal record, no history of violence, and no DNA profile in police databases. However, as investigators analyzed the message exchanges, it became evident that Jessup had been the primary initiator of contact, frequently reaching out to Claire. Their limited interactions suggested a relatively new acquaintance, prompting further scrutiny into Jessup's involvement in the case. At this stage, Claire Ablewhite made the decision to end the relationship. Messages recovered from her phone indicated that she had growing doubts, particularly regarding the significant age difference between her and John Jessup. This decision appeared to trigger a drastic shift in Jessup's behavior. Feeling rejected, he began bombarding Claire with persistent messages. One message, notably long and emotionally charged, revealed his deep frustration. He expressed feeling used and demanded an explanation for why she had chosen to end their relationship. This escalating communication suggested a possible motive for the crime. Jessup's apparent distress and Claire's firm decision to walk away may have acted as a catalyst, prompting further investigation into his potential involvement in her murder. John Jessup's absence from the investigation raised suspicions, as he never came forward despite his recent relationship with Claire Ablewhite. Police also discovered he lacked a driver's license, meaning he likely traveled by bicycle, matching the CCTV footage near the crime scene. Now the prime suspect, Jessup, remained under scrutiny, but investigators needed concrete evidence. A breakthrough came from CCTV footage recorded 18 miles away, showing him making a routine purchase at a store. While he appeared ordinary, every detail was now crucial in building the case against him. John Jessup appeared calm and polite as he made his purchase and left the store, seemingly exhausted. However, a major breakthrough emerged when CCTV footage placed him near Claire Ablewhite's home just hours before her murder. This evidence was critical, providing investigators with a clear image of his appearance, clothing, and distinctive rucksack. Most notably, the footage captured him wearing Adidas sneakers with the recognizable three stripes, matching the footwear seen in earlier recordings outside Claire's home. With no driver's license or access to a vehicle, Jessup's likely mode of transport was his bicycle, further linking him to the crime scene. The mounting evidence was now sufficient for law enforcement to take action. 11 days after Claire's death, police moved in to arrest Jessup at his workplace. Upon arrival, officers found him hiding in a restroom. Given the violent nature of the crime, authorities approached the situation with caution, entering with tasers prepared in case of resistance. Jessup, now the primary suspect, was taken into custody, marking a significant step forward in the investigation.
Look towards me, put your hands above your head, something like in your ankles, all right? Right, buddy. Understand what's happening. You've been detained. This officer here needs to tell you something, so listen very carefully, all right?
I'm not doing anything.
Words serve as carriers of both information and deception. Research suggests that the more a person speaks, the easier it becomes to assess the truthfulness of their statements. In John Jessup's case, his immediate declaration of innocence, "I didn't do anything," stood out. While this may seem unusual to the average observer, experts familiar with offender behavior recognize it as a common response. Jessup's demeanor remained consistent with what had been observed in CCTV footage, calm, composed, and emotionally detached. Despite having committed a vicious attack on Claire Ablewhite, his reaction to the arrest lacked any visible shock or distress, indicating a possible absence of empathy. His silence and measured behavior only reinforced suspicions about his involvement. Additionally, facial comparisons confirmed that the man seen on the store's surveillance footage was indeed the same individual captured near Claire's home, providing authorities with the necessary evidence to proceed with his arrest. John Jessup was taken into custody and subjected to 3 days of police interrogation. Initially, he denied any involvement in Claire Ablewhite's murder. However, in October, he ultimately confessed to the crime. With this admission, investigators were able to reconstruct the events of that night in detail. On February 25th, Jessup cycled 18 miles to Claire's home, deliberately leaving his phone behind to avoid tracking. Upon arrival, he rode past her house, concealed his bicycle, and waited in the shadows for her return. He listened as she spoke with a neighbor before making his move. Once inside, he remained in the house for approximately an hour, during which he carried out the savage attack. Before fleeing, Jessup took Claire's mobile phone, likely in an attempt to destroy evidence and hinder the investigation. After stealing Claire Ablewhite's phone, John Jessup discarded it in a nearby stream before putting his hat back on and cycling home. However, a critical question remained. Was the murder premeditated? Jessup claimed that an argument escalated, leading him to grab a knife and kill Claire in the heat of the moment. The biggest challenge for the prosecution was the absence of the murder weapon, which prevented them from definitively proving premeditation. Jessup ultimately confessed, eliminating the need for a trial. In October 2022, he pleaded guilty to murder at Nottingham Crown Court. On January 4, 2023, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 17 years. The inability to recover the weapon played a significant role in reducing the severity of his sentence. John Jessup likely believed he could evade justice. Without the crucial CCTV footage from Claire Ablewhite's neighbor, he might have succeeded. With no DNA evidence recovered from the crime scene, the case hinged on digital forensics. Surveillance footage from both the neighbor's camera and the shop where Jessup was seen was instrumental in securing a conviction. Without these key pieces of evidence, linking him to the murder would have been significantly more challenging. The senseless nature of the crime stands out. Claire and Jessup had only a brief relationship, making the escalation to murder deeply disproportionate. Claire did nothing wrong, she simply exercised her right to say no. Her tragic death highlights a recurring issue. a minority of men who react with violence when faced with rejection. Claire, a devoted mother of three, was embracing a new chapter in her life, only to have it cut short in an act of senseless thing. Do you think digital forensics, like CCTV footage and mobile data, is becoming the most important tool in solving crimes? Why or why not? How do cases like this highlight the dangers of online dating and modern relationships? What precautions do you think people should take? If you found this case intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think about this case? Let's discuss.